Looks like it's 1 p.m. right now. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Looks like we're all good to go on my end. Awesome. My name's Nathan Gauger. I am one of the R&D specialists here. I work a lot with our Venue Replay product and many of our other products. I actually work with many of the companies that we have here at El Toro. I've also got a co-pilot here today, Chris Spurlock. I'll let Chris introduce himself.
Hey everyone, Chris Spurlock here, and I am an ad operations specialist here at El Toro. So we're the ones who monitor your campaigns, make sure they're serving as efficiently and effectively as possible. I'm going to be here to support Nathan and show you guys how the Venue Replay tool works in our portal. But with that, I will go ahead and pass it back to him.
Awesome, thanks, Chris. First off, obviously, we want to thank everybody for attending. I do want to say that if you do have questions, please, write them down. Due to how many people are in this, it looks like we're having a decent amount of participation today. We are trying to push questions towards the end, where I'm going to try to have a Q&A if we have time. If we don't have time, we're going to work on getting these questions answered. And if you do have further questions, we're going to have a link at the very end to help and facilitate those answers. So El Toro, targeting business contacts at home. We're facing a pretty unique challenge here, where right now B2B campaigns are not as efficient based on everybody, working from home. So we understand that typical B2B campaigns are facing this really large issue, and we really have an effective way on getting around that and really getting to those people that you were previously reaching through other ways, and now you have the ability to reach through El Toro. So I'm going to start out here with just simply, identifying the issue. COVID-19, obviously, is a huge factor in marketing right now. People are pulling their budgets. People are spending in different ways. People are having very different risk mitigation effects on how they can sustain their business whenever, business is not as normal. So COVID-19, it's going to continue to spread. We know this. We're not trying to incite panic. Our goal really within this is not necessarily to take advantage of a situation, but it's to identify a need that currently people have and make it so that people can run efficiently. Small businesses can continue to exist and get out to the customers that they want. Really just providing a solution for people to continue as normal so that this does not affect their business in as bad as a way as what it may be affecting it currently. And obviously we're trying to mitigate some of those risk factors that are associated with COVID-19. So it looks like we do have some new participation within this webinar. So I was planning on giving a little brief introduction to El Toro. El Toro has been around for 8 or 9 years at this point. I think we're at 8.5 points. We have a 3-point verification methodology here. We exist within the IP address, so the router Wi-Fi of a household, that router that transmits all of your Wi-Fi, the device ID, and then finally the household address. And our assumption is that if you can perform campaigns similar to how you perform direct mail, you can also give attribution similar to direct mail. And that's kind of the foundation of our entire software. At the same time, we have many different products that are associated with the IP or device or household level that allow us to target on a one-to-one basis or generate audiences on a one-to-one basis so that we can get in front of the right people accurately. We are cookie-free with all of our data collection. The only product that uses cookies is our simple retargeting, which is not a product that we really get into. It's just the simple retargeting that you currently provide to your customers. That is the only cookie that you will see in our software. All of our matching, whether it be the device to household, whether it be the IP address, the router Wi-Fi to household, we are not using cookies. And we get all of this through around 350 billion data points that we receive every single day. And that allows us to perform our matching algorithms. I'll get into that a little bit further later on. But really, we're built to meet the needs of a dynamically changing environment. So whenever you look at this, digital ads, have grown significantly over the past 5 years. And, the marketplace is greater. The market share is getting higher for the marketing getting into digital. And El Toro is really built on the accuracy and delivering those ads in an accurate way toward the actual household. And we have around a 70% matching algorithm that basically, if you upload any household address into our system, you can target it to the IP address. So the router Wi-Fi is what would specifically be targeted there. That's a little overview on El Toro. Obviously, if you have any questions or any further items, feel free to ask those questions, or we can connect you with a sales rep later if you're interested in using El Toro products, maybe not Venue Replay, but other ones down the road. So getting in, we do have patents. There are a lot of people that claim to do similar things as what we do. The patents that we hold allow us to perform this in a way that nobody else can, and therefore they may be similar, but we claim to be the best. I can tell you from the data that I see, we are the best. Our accuracy is around 95% within our household to IP match and also our device to IP match. So we're 95% confident with all of those matching algorithms. And the patents really make us have a competitive advantage within the marketplace. So these are our patents. I'm not going to go through them individually. You're welcome to look at them on your own. I believe this presentation will be sent out to others as well. And then our second slide is just a joint property that we have through potentially other third parties that we use, and we now have those patents through a joint venture. So why this matters for B2B marketers. Let's go and rehash. COVID-19 is currently affecting the marketplace. Right now, there are a ton of businesses that are looking at you saying, we are no longer interested in having our workers in the workplace because it causes a severe risk to their health. So we're going to let them work from home. And I believe I saw in a report yesterday that 40% of companies don't even have a work from home policy, which is kind of scary whenever you think about it. One, they're sending these people home. The other item is they're not prepared to work from home. Well, our goal is to prepare B2B marketers with how they can actually reach these individuals while they're within the household. People that are employees of specific companies that now need to be reached within the specific household. And we can do this through Venue Replay. So Venue Replay allows me to query a specific location, so look at a location of interest, and query for all of the devices that exist within a very specific location. I'm accurate to the meter square with my identification. So the idea here is once I identify that location of interest, whether that be a distribution facility, whether that be an office workplace, I can actually frame that location on what is very similar to a Google Maps API and truly frame that location and pull all the devices that were seen in that location. Now, how do we find that those devices were seen in that location? This comes from our 350 billion points of data that we get every single day. So El Toro itself has partnered with around 10,000 different applications where we receive opt-in data associated with an ad serving on the phone while they're within that specific location. And whenever that ad is served, we get 4 points of data. We get a lat and a long, that being the actual location of the individual. We also get a device ID, and we get a timestamp, the time at which they were seen within that location. Now, we get a whole lot of other points of data too, but those are the 4 main points of data that I am truly interested in whenever I'm looking at Venue Replay. Because this allows me to see that this, household or this person, this device was actually within that building or that area at that specific time. And from that, I can identify or build a propensity around that person being an employee, a customer, based on the profile of what type of devices would be in that area. In this case, we would be looking at specifically business locations. So if I was to frame a specific business location, I could identify all of the devices, and based on our matching algorithm, I could push that device into a household address where I could then market to the router Wi-Fi of that household and market to all of the people that live within that household on a one-to-one basis. I can also market to these specific devices. I'm going to let Chris take over and show you some of the framing technologies that we have within our portal. This is actually something that you yourself would be able to perform within our portal. It's a functionality that we have. And personally, I think it's really the competitive advantage that we have is allowing you to be accurate and you to also perform these frames on your own to ensure that accuracy.
All right, thank you so much for that, Nathan. Just to reintroduce myself for those of you who got here maybe a little bit late, my name is Chris Spurlock. I work on the ad operations team here at El Toro, which means we're the ones who are actually monitoring your campaigns in real time, making sure that those are serving as effectively and efficiently as possible. And what I'm going to do real quick is just show you how Venue Replay works at a practical level, right? So we've kind of talked about it at a high level. We've explained the process, and I want to show you that it's actually something pretty easy for you to set up using our internal platform. So this is, we are getting a little bit of a sneak peek here into our proprietary platform. We're looking right here at the Venue Replay section. And let's say that we have a particular area of interest that we want to target. And for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and use our very own Humana Incorporated, which is right across the street from us here at El Toro, actually. So there's a few critical things here to be aware of whenever you're setting up your Venue Replay target. First of all, obviously we want to name our target, and then we want to set timeframes. So what we're telling the target here is when do we want to pull these devices for? Because like Nathan said, all of these devices have a timestamp associated with them. We know exactly at what point they were within these locations. So our Venue Replay technology allows us to go up to a week in the past, going all the way back to 6 months in the past. Right, so we can go, as of right now, we can go all the way back to September. And the next thing we want to do, of course, is select our location of interest. So let's go ahead and select our area of interest where we want to target the employees of this location, right, or the decision makers. Just anyone who has a stake in the company, people who are going to be seen that often. So what I've done is used this function to just type in the location. You can either type in the name of the location or the address, zoom to the shape, and then we're going to use this polygon tool. And this is, once again, this is a self-serve platform, so this is all something that would be available to you given access to the El Toro platform. But all we're doing is drawing a shape around the location of interest. And now what we're going to do is send, a request to our system saying, hey, all of the devices that we're seeing in this time frame, in this location, this series of latitudes and longitudes, we're going to return those devices, and we're going to return the households, the addresses associated with those devices, so that we can directly reach those households with our patented IP targeting technology. So this process typically takes, once you submit your Venue Replay target, it can take anywhere from just a minute to maybe like a maximum of 20 minutes. It's a very fast quoting process. Just for the purposes of speeding up this demonstration, we've gone ahead and completed it. And you can see the number of matched results we have. So as Nathan said, we typically see about a 70% match rate. In this case, we have a 75% match rate. What that means is that of all of the homes we identify of people that were seen in this location, we're going to be able to target 5,117 of those homes with digital IP targeting. You can see a few more details here. regarding the devices we mapped, as well as other devices we found in those households. I'm going to let Nathan go into a little bit more detail about these 4 segments, but this is just a demonstration of how sort of easy and efficient and simple it is to set up your own venue replay target and give you more of a practical idea of how to set that up. So with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Nathan.
Thanks, Chris. I really appreciate that. That's a great demonstration on how we actually query for this. Let's go on. So a deeper dive into the venue replay technology. And I believe what you were seeing there at the very end was 4 segments. And those 4 segments represent different ways in which you can target and different people that you can target, okay? So the first segment that we had was mapped homes. For those devices that we identified within that location, those devices we then correlated to the household. Those households are within our mapped home. We also had a portion of them, I believe it was 74% of them, that were seen actually with an IP address, a router Wi-Fi attached to it. For those that have router Wi-Fi attached to it, we can actually market to those people virtually immediately, so long as we have a creative and a landing page, and we can get ads serving to them today. You know, those are households that we can now target, and those are households that will also show up on our matchback analysis. And our matchback analysis is pretty simple. We take the sales file of the actual consumer, the person that you're marketing for, and we match the households that we targeted to the households that are identified on the sales file, and we can create from that the individual sales at which we incrementally created. This develops a direct ROI, and we can get more into that at the very end. But the mapped homes are people that were seen at the workplace, and those are also people that we can now target through the router Wi-Fi of the household. Those mapped devices are the devices which created the mapped homes. Those mapped devices you can now target specifically to. So no longer would they have to be in the household for you to target them. They could also be at any store, so long as we see their device ID show up within our bidding platform. The other devices at home get a little bit tricky. Whenever you're trying to create a sphere of influence marketing campaign, it may not actually interest you just to hit the people that are directly seen within the location. It may also interest you to hit the wife, the husband, you know, the other people that may have decision-making factors within the household. And this is where our other devices in home come into play. So these are devices that we have not seen within your location of interest, but we know that they live within the household that does have something to do with your location of interest, whether it be an employee lives there, whether it be a customer lives there. We know through this that the other devices in home have a sphere of influence effect where you can market to those individuals, get in front of them, and hopefully they will influence the person that you're truly trying to get to buy. Finally, the unmapped devices. These are devices that we did not have a confidence interval where we could say that they are associated to this household. We are not going to tell you that a device is associated to a household if it does not appear to be associated to a specific household, or we are not getting enough data on that specific device where we can associate it to household. I am not going to, sell you something. We're telling you that a household is associated to your campaign or to your location of interest, unless I am 95% certain of that. So what's the differences between geofencing and geoframing? These get very confusing just because of how closely they are named. Many times whenever I'm in meetings, they'll be used interchangeably, even though they have completely different meanings. Geofencing, as you can see over in this left picture, is based on cell phone triangulation. And you can also see where if you are geofencing a specific location that is identified within this picture, you would also be geofencing the intersection. You would be geofencing the nearby buildings as well. It's built on cell phone triangulation and not based on timestamp or lat long, but purely being seen within a triangulated position by cell phone towers. Geoframing, very different. geoframing, our goal is to identify devices that have been seen in the past or near present that are associated with a location of interest. You can see over to the right, it looks like we have a bank, and it looks like we have some sort of like food store or drugstore, something to that extent framed. The idea that I can pick out specifically that building and the parking lot of that building and serve to people that have been seen there in the past allows me this competitive advantage of building an audience that is not currently reachable through those exact same methods. We are able to actually target these individuals at their household for people that were seen 6 months ago. And the accuracy is down to the meter square. So this is, once again, the 9 trillion meter squares that we have within the United States. We're able to query down into a very specific meter square and pick apart those meter squares and pull all the devices that we saw within them. And that's really where geoframing comes in as a very hard competitive advantage. So differences between geofencing and geoframing, I'm going to run through these pretty quick. One, for geofencing, customer location services must be turned on. It also requires a hard opt-in. You must just share your location with a specified app. And it uses cell phones to triangulate. I already kind of talked about that. The accuracy is limited to the cell phone's proximity. At the same time, limited to real-time serve. So if you're trying to target people that are a Humana employee, as we showed through that demo, those people, if you were geofencing currently, would not be reachable. This is really where geoframing comes in. The customer, within geoframing, the customer must visit a website or an app that serves third-party ads. There's many of them out there. We get 350 billion points of data every day, which is a pretty insane number. The device opt-in, agreeing to the terms of service, we all do that. You download an app, and it puts up that terms of service. We all press agree because we like the free apps. Well, they give us the data, and we're able to play with it in a way that actually helps consumers and marketing campaigns. The ability to correlate the latitude, longitude data gives us the ability to be accurate down to the meter square. And the ability to serve ads to the device IP along with the household router Wi-Fi. We could, at the same time, serve direct mail to these exact same individuals that we have identified as being within the location of interest. And so this not only is digitally related, but this also becomes potentially direct mail related. So why geoframes? This is once again getting into kind of in the argument of geofencing or geoframing. What's more efficient? What's better? How should I actually utilize my marketing campaign and my marketing budget to get in front of the right people? Over on this western, I'm going to call these polygons. On the western polygon over here, you're seeing an interstate, okay? That interstate for that period of time captured 7,588 devices being on the interstate. One, this is extremely scary because it identifies that people are on their phone way too often on the interstate. They should probably get off their phone, but we pick up that data. At the same time, you're seeing a roadway as well, an intersection here, having 3,264 devices being identified within it. So these two items make up close to, 10,000 observations of devices being within those two locations. Whereas whenever we look at the comparison of the car lots, the actual car lots, this is a local location, so I know these very well. This specific car lot is not necessarily a highly frequented location. It's difficult to get to based on its location. And so there is not a ton of foot traffic that exists within this car lot. But you're also seeing here that we identified a portion of a road that is rather widely used to get to these businesses over here. These are restaurants, these are other items. So this car lot, though it's not frequently used, within this geoframe and how it's drawn, is capturing devices, making it similar in foot traffic to this of a car lot, which is highly frequented for automotive service, for many other reasons that are car buying. This is one of the most trafficked car lots that I've ever seen in Louisville. this Oxmoor Auto Group is foot traffic like none other. And we're seeing 943 devices having been in there for that time period. So whenever you're looking at geoframes, we prefer you to stay away from roads because you're going to pick up a lot of traffic that's not actually intended to be there. This is really the game changer whenever it comes to geofencing. You don't really have a choice. It's unfortunate. And this may not only exist for today, where you look at this and say, hey, I have a need today to perform this type of targeting because people are not working from the actual workplace. This may be also a better way of targeting people after this virus has passed, purely because of the accuracy, the ability to get into the household as well, rather than just serving in real time. But this visualization is truly meant as an observation of what happens whenever you're serving to road. And as you see at the very bottom, accuracy equals less waste equals better results is all too true in what we see in one, how the geoframes are drawn, but on the other side, how these campaigns are actually managed. So how do I make it work for me? Let's go through the venue replay cycle. So the venue replay workflow. One, you have B2B targets. So you've identified that you need to market to a specific workplace or a specific location. How do I get in front of them? That's the first question that we all ask. Current methods or previous methods may have been geofencing. Previous methods could have even been with us through IP targeting. But what we're going to do is identify the households for the geoframes. So those geoframes that you're going to provide, that you're going to draw within our system, or that we're going to help you draw within our system, we will then identify the households within those specific geoframes, okay? Within those households, we're going to have all the targets and the home devices. These are going to be identified as people that have high intent within that location of interest, whether they be employees or consumers. That's up to your strategy. But this is a situation where we now have gathered essentially a database of devices and households that we can get in front of that have high affinity towards whatever you are trying to sell. We load that data into the El Toro portal. It should already be there, but if you have your own data, you can also load that into the El Toro portal and basically combine the two and market with both. We're going to then target the decision makers. This is where we create the ad campaign. This is where we actually go in, create the order line, we get those ads served. We use AppNexus, now known as Xandr, for our ad serving capabilities here at El Toro. And from those, that month-long, 2-month-long campaign, we're then going to measure the results. Now, I know a lot of people do out-of-home measurement, where they're looking at comparable areas, they're looking at sales, seeing whether they improved. With our matchback analysis, I'm going to once again mention this matchback analysis because it is very important. Us being able to look at the sales file of a customer and actually matching that sales file to the target list allows us to create a direct ROI. Makes it so that we don't have any of the confusion of, hey, maybe this worked or maybe it didn't. We can tell you that it worked. We can prove it. We can show you that pre-campaign, we developed this list of households. And on the end of the campaign, those households magically came and bought. And we know that that's because of our targeting. Based on that, we can then optimize the results, see what businesses work, what businesses don't, what businesses have a need, what businesses don't, what businesses have a procurement officer that just doesn't want to use your specific services. And let's get rid of those individuals, those businesses, and let's target those businesses where we can actually create this incremental lift. Rinse and repeat. Simple enough. So El Toro case study, this is a campaign that we've ran for many months. It's still a recurring campaign. But the idea is that we can target people that are in the market to buy a car by identifying them being on a car lot. Whenever you look at this, a 16-year-old kid can go on and build a Ford Mustang pretty easily whenever he's online. And that 16-year-old kid probably doesn't have a great intent to buy. But the people that actually go and truly visit a car lot. Those people have a true intent to buy. When's the last time that you went on a car lot? When's the last time that you looked at a car online? And whenever you look at that extreme intent of truly going and visiting, we can identify that person visiting, capture them, and then serve ads to them. And that's what was performed within this campaign. So for around 81 dealerships, we created 340 incremental car sales per month for the life of the campaign. Now you can see these case studies on our website. There's many other case studies as well if you're interested. And if you would like any specific ones, feel free to reach out through the link at the very end. But we perform these campaigns for Republic Bank, Bonnaroo, music festivals, banking, college athletics, college admissions, even restaurants. Being able to see someone who's a current restaurant customer is extremely important whenever it comes to a lot of those people pay with cash and they have no footprint at a specific restaurant. So those cash businesses that you're trying to get in front of, this is a very unique and very highly effective tool at getting in front of those individuals. And we've also performed with alcohol and other items. So frequently asked questions. I'm going to go ahead and try to knock out some of the questions that may be being asked. We know that these are important. Hopefully I can knock them out prior to taking the time to answer them later. And there are a lot of questions that I know a lot of people will have. So one, where are the ads served at? We run digital display ads along with video and OTT to the top 1 million sites online. Most of the websites are where the household navigates. It's going to be your Fox News or CNN. It's going to be your local channels. It's going to be weather. These places that people are just typically surfing the web on. What sort of reporting will I get? Our portal allows clients to dive in and watch their campaigns. Once again, matchback analysis is massive. It's a true showing of how we performed. But other sorts of reporting would be the ad served. We have the ability to show you the domains at which your ads were served. There's a lot of different reporting options. And if you have any specific ones, feel free to reach out. What click-through rates do you see? So a 0.08 to a 0.12 CTR is pretty common right now. With that being said, the average for digital display is around a 0.06. That's the average CTR. So we do perform well above average. And that's purely based on the idea that if I can remove devices that have no true intent to click on an ad, I can actually get higher response rates. How should we measure success? I think I've talked about this a couple of times. Matchback analysis is going to be huge. If you do want to measure success through other ways, please reach out. We'd love to talk you through it. We'd love to make sure that, one, if you are an agency, we make you look good in the process, and we design this campaign associated with how it's actually going to be performed and how it's going to be measured. But at the same time, if you are someone that's trying to get sales and you do not want to provide a sales file, we'd be happy to talk with you on other ways which we could form attribution channels. Are the ads served on mobile? Most definitely. Creatives are served to the phones tethered to the Wi-Fi. We look for all inventory associated with the Wi-Fi address of the household. We do stay away from kid sites. We do stay away from Vice and those sites that you really just don't want brands associated with. We could name a couple, I'm sure. Can animation be used in the ads? Most definitely. We allow OTT, we allow video, we allow GIF, or however you want to say it, PNG, JPEG. We allow all those different sorts of ads. We actually have banner standards online. So if you're interested in the banner standards, we're going to include that in an email coming out. And it's been sent if it hasn't already to you, but it will be sent. And those banner standards will allow you to see how we serve and what we can serve. And if you do have any more questions, feel free to visit our website for frequently asked questions. We'd love to have you there. So data and compliance, I will tell you, in the United States, we are compliant with everything that the United States currently has as a law. We are compliant with CCPA. We are part of the DAA. Compliance is not really an issue for us whenever it comes to the United States. We do not work outside of the United States. So GDPR is not something that we adhere to. It's not something that we want to adhere to because we're not in Europe. If you have US targeting, United States targeting, we are compliant with all laws and we have the ability to serve up any campaign. Awesome. So kind of wrapping this up. I know we're nearing the end here, wrapping up key takeaways. First, venue replay. Identify the locations that you are looking at. We know people are not working from business locations anymore. So current strategies are not necessarily available. So once we identify these locations of people that we need to identify in the past, we would then geoframe those locations through the process that Chris Spurlock showed you earlier. Once we have those geoframed, that allows us to identify device IDs, okay? Once we've identified those device IDs, we can identify the household address, and therefore the router Wi-Fi of the household we can then serve to, along with all of the devices that are identified in the household, or specifically those devices that we're seeing within that specific location of interest. This is really built as a tool for you to generate audiences that are not reachable through other circumstances. And based on the retrospective aspect of actually VR, venue replay, it allows us to get in front of people who are employees that are not just coming to the office, along with other intent items where if they were going on a car lot or they're going into homes for sale, whatever it be. Conferences is another highly used strategy with VR. This helps us maintain connections, gets the ads that they were previously seeing within the workplace, now being seen within their household. And maintaining these connections is going to be so paramount, and this is going to be the competitive advantage. This is going to be the maintenance item that you really need to perform with your current people because they don't have this connection. They're currently not getting this reach out from all of these other firms that are doing marketing for other companies. And if you can hit them on the household today, that's huge. That's something nobody else is offering to their clients, that we're using other methods. And this is how we get ahead. So I really want to thank you, everybody, for coming and listening. It seems like we still have some rather high engagement. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get to questions. It looks like we're coming up on time. Chris Spurlock, if you're available for questions, otherwise I can potentially answer one or two of them.
Hey, Nathan, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I just want to point out. I mean, you guys can all see the screen, but just for all webinar attendees, we are waiving upfront deposit fees, so be aware of that. Go ahead and email us at info@eltoro.com to get priority access to the system and get that deposit waived. You can also call us at the number you can see on your screen, 502-353-0390. We do have about maybe 5 or 10 minutes remaining, so I can stay on the line and answer questions. Nathan, if you want to stay on the line and address some questions, we can certainly go ahead and knock some out, see if we have any.
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right.
Do you have a specific one that you're thinking of? I'm scrolling through them myself.
We have a question here that states, do you have a PDF one sheet we can email to potential clients? We have a variety of marketing materials. Of course, Venue Replay is just one of the options in our targeting suite that we offer. So if you have a sales rep, your sales rep can certainly supply you with a one sheet to supply to your clients. Otherwise, you can email info@eltoro.com, the one you can see on your screen, and we can get that to you. We have another question here that states, can you upload a list of businesses for Venue Replay? That's an excellent question. We do offer a list upload of business addresses for direct business-to-business targeting. So that's IP targeting that's done in real time. And we'd obviously not recommend that currently, given the situation we find ourselves in. You don't want to directly target these businesses when you don't have many people working on site. But there is an option to upload a list of businesses. For Venue Replay, you have to use that Polygon tool that we kind of demonstrated earlier. We have a few people asking if the presentation is being recorded and if it will be available later. The answer to that is yes. We are recording this presentation and it will be available for you to review later. So I believe we're planning on sending that out to all participants. I can get that verified, but if you don't receive that or if you'd like a recording, you can email info@eltoro.com.
I have a question here. You can pick up devices that are not connected to Wi-Fi. And I would say that this is probably the biggest value add that we have, is we are not dependent on Wi-Fi being connected to identify them within a location. Within these applications that we are ingesting their data from, we're actually able to capture the application data, not the Wi-Fi data, not the cellular data associated with it. We are specifically capturing the device data from the application, which the application is not dependent on Wi-Fi in many situations. So yes, most definitely, those that are not connected to Wi-Fi, we are picking up.
I have another question here that states, how far back did you say you could go with location data? Using our Venue Replay technology, we can actually go up to 6 months in the past. So the answer to that question is, you can go up to 6 months in the past and view devices that were at a location that far into the past. This is a great question. The question is, can you use the target's name in your ad copy? For example, hey, Humana, here's why you should be working with us. That is absolutely something you can do at your discretion. That's something we've actually seen people do in the past. You want people to know that they're the people you're trying to reach, right? So if you're trying to target a particular business or the decision makers of a particular business, it's definitely not a bad idea to include information about that business, so that hey, we're talking to you here, right?
I've got a question. Can you elaborate on the direct mail portion of targeting? Most definitely. So the direct mail portion, since we actually have the household addresses identified through the devices that we're matching to the household address, all it takes is for a data share agreement to be in place with us, and we can get that direct mail out if you are not the end client. If you are the end client, I unfortunately cannot give you these addresses, but we can connect you with a print partner that can actually help you and facilitate this process.
We have a question here that states, how is pricing structured? That's another excellent question. By the way, please keep the questions rolling. We do have a lot. We might not be able to address all of them over the course of this webinar, but please send any remaining ones to the email that you see on your screen. But the question we have here is, how is pricing structured? El Toro prices all of our campaigns, all of our orders on a CPM basis. That's cost per 1,000 impressions. So for every 1,000 impressions served, you're going to be paying a rate negotiated with your sales rep.
So here's a pretty strategic question. Do you recommend using Venue Replay in tandem after running a captive audience campaign? Yes. I believe that that's the most effective way in reaching your targets, not only while they're within a location, but also after they're within that location. So it just gets us further reach, gets us further identity of whatever solution you're trying to provide. We see this a lot with conference targeting, where they perform the B2B, the captive audience, while they're at the conference, run 3/4 of the campaign or half the campaign during that time period, where you actually have your booth set up and you've spent a lot of money getting into that conference. But then afterwards, capturing them with Venue Replay and targeting those individuals over a longer period of time with ads, so that they build that brand affinity, not just seeing you at the conference, but truly seeing you after the conference as well. I have a couple of questions as what qualifies as high intent. I think that this is more of a strategy related question. And the only reason why I'm really taking this one is because we've had it 3 or 4 times. High intent is really going to be identified as what are people within that specific location doing. So high intent of buying a car is someone that's physically going onto a car lot to look at cars. High intent of being an employee is likely going in somewhere that is not frequented by customers and being seen within that building. You're not going to be able to get into the Pentagon. If you were to, potentially look at these areas where you do not have typical people just walking in to purchase something, that could be Humana, where they have restrictions on the people who are coming in. It could be even El Toro, where our office has a locked door and nobody's just able to walk in. Those places I would consider high intent of the individuals that we're seeing inside being actual employees.
I've been seeing a couple of questions about just uploading a list of households. This is really, I can't stress enough that this is kind of our bread and butter, right? So Venue Replay is one of the targeting tools we offer. It's something that we think is going to be particularly useful given the current situation we find ourselves in. But if you have a list of addresses, potentially from a CRM or a data provider, and you want to digitally advertise to those households, that is absolutely, positively something you can do using our platform. That's just our standard IP targeting. So we're going to match those household addresses to IP addresses and then advertise to them. You can also do that with business addresses, but once again, given the fact that not many people are probably going to be in the office for the time being, might want to avoid that for the next few weeks.
I've got a question here that says, I see you said you can only go back 6 months. Is that for right now, and is it possible to change? Just thinking of seasonal business. So once you query for an item within our portal, that data becomes static. So if today I query for something that happened over Christmas, let's say Black Friday, let's put out Black Friday, for example. If I'm working on targeting people that went to a Home Depot for Black Friday last year, I can query for that today, ask for that data to be held static, and then we can target on that data, let's say a month before Black Friday. So as far as like strategy, yes, it may take some preparedness to get in front of some of those items. The idea that we can go back 6 months is revolutionary. It's amazing. But for those situations where you may need to go back a year, let's try to get prepared. Let's try to arrange that now and make that database static so that we can target it whenever the true time comes around.
I have a question here, Nathan, that states, can you exclude device targeting of the influencers in a household if you only want to target devices matched at the business location? So this is going back to, and let me actually see if I can bring it up real quick so that you all can see. So this is going back to those 4 Venue Replay segments, right? So other devices at home, those are your influencers. They could be significant others of the people whose devices we matched to that location. you do not have to target these on a venue replay target if you don't want to. As a matter of fact, any 4 of these segments are toggleable, so you can toggle them on or off if you don't wish to target, for instance, other devices in home, or if you don't want to target unmapped devices because you really care about showing attribution, and we haven't identified the household of these individuals. So you can turn any of these off or on. Usually we see people targeting the mapped homes and often the mapped devices as well. If you don't want to target other devices in the household, you do not have to target that segment.
Awesome. I've got a question. Do you see the most use in this targeting a competitor so that you can quote unquote steal their prospects using the tech? Yes, to a certain extent. So one, geofencing is going to be completely, in my opinion, it's not going to be useful whenever you're sending someone an ad saying, hey, come to Costco if you are currently at a Kroger. That doesn't make sense to me. No one's going to go and say, hey, I'm at Kroger, I see this Costco ad, I'm now going to drive to Costco immediately. But what does make sense is for me identifying people that are potentially at, let's say, an oil change facility, where if I see them at an oil change facility that is not my own last week, they probably don't need an oil change. But that doesn't mean that 3 months down the road, they're not my prime target. So yes, conquesting is a huge area where geoframing can come into play. I also like the idea of retention, purely based on the fact that most people do not get accurate data on their current customer. And this creates a situation where we can really, I mean, in a lot of situations, I'm recreating between 20 and 40% of anybody's CRM for people that have purchased. And on the address level, not, of course, on the sale level. We don't see sales, we just see people and locations. But recreating that CRM allows us to further retention, further loyalty rates, and keep those customers that already have brand affinity to you, keep them coming.
I do want to remind everyone at this time, or notify everyone at this time, that we do have another conference, another webinar that we plan on hosting next week, covering our reverse append technology. Our reverse append technology actually allows us to pixel your website and associate those people visiting your website back to their home address for direct mail. So we talked a little bit about direct mail in this presentation. Reverse append is something that gives you the ability to match those people seen on your website back to a home address for direct mail purposes. If that sounds like something that's interesting to you, definitely email info@eltoro.com, and we'll probably we will be sending out more information about that webinar in the coming days.
Yeah. So, Chris, it seems like we're coming up on our hour limit here. I just want to remind everybody before we do go, please email us. We love to reach out. We love any questions that you have. The deposit is waived, so don't worry about the deposit. It's waived. Our goal is to get people that are currently having an issue that may be a little bit cash strapped, get them in front of these individuals. You know, we understand this is a really hard time for businesses. We're here to help. This is the way that we view many companies, really a solution that they need at the moment that they aren't currently able to find, and ways in which we can continue to keep marketing dollars spending, not just on your system, but also on our system. So there's a lot of factors to this, but I do think that this is the competitive advantage that, one, you're looking for in this current crisis, to create that innovative spirit that your client's actually wanting. So once again, I just want to thank everybody for attending. I think we're going to sum this up. If you do have questions, info@eltoro.com, or feel free to call us. If you do have a sales rep, please attach your sales rep on that email. But we would love to answer your questions, and if there's anything that we can do for you, please reach out.
Just one last reminder before we head off here that we are waiving that deposit for all webinar attendees. Please email info@eltoro.com if you're interested in getting set up and getting that deposit waived.